So there are no dumb questions. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Jazz hands for Jacqueline. And is everyone seeing the big screen, or are you seeing the smaller ones with my notes in it?
See one
big
screen.
The big screen. Okay, perfect. So today I actually created a new permission slip for myself, and I want to share that before we continue with the lesson. And I want to see if you have your permission slips for this. So from our first session and second session, my permission slip was, I give myself permission to be open and honest. But today I'm about to try something with your group that may or may not be super well received. So I wrote that I give myself permission to make bold requests and trust myself fully. So that's my permission slip today. Does anyone want to share any of your permission slips for today? You can also share one from last time if you like, from last class. What about Rahul? Do you have your permission slip that you might want to share?
I have it from the first one, stop and ask questions, but are we supposed to create new permission slips every time or keep our old?
No, you don't have to, because chances are they might stay the same, but you don't have a limit to how many permission slips you can have. You can give yourself 5 permission slips if you want for something special. But if you have one from last class or last couple of sessions, that's great too. I only created a new one today because I'm about to announce our Authentic Communications Team Challenge. And I just thought, oh my God, some of you might be like, what is she doing? Why are we doing that? Whereas I'm like, no, we're going to do this. I'm going to make a bold request to the group. So
Okay.
Thank you for sharing yours. Yay. Okay, so last session, we talked a lot about love languages and emotional bank accounts, which are not technically topics covered in Dare to Lead, but are very important foundational tools for you in order to fully use the tools in Dare to Lead, which is what we're going to be doing today. We talked about deposits, withdrawals, and kind of rumbling with repairs, which is something that Brene Brown talks about, is that things don't have to be perfect. And if issues come up, being willing to repair as quickly as possible makes all the difference. So does anyone have any deposit experiences? Did anyone make any deposits into someone else's EBA?
I got lots of deposits this week just in organizing the team build, and everybody was very kind enough to give me supportive words, which is part of my love language. So
Yeah.
I was on the receiving end, so I got a lot of deposits.
Oh, that's so great. I know you went on a Segway tour.
Yes.
Next time, please remember to invite me as well. I feel like I'm part of the team already. So those are great deposits for Denise. She got a lot of great words of affirmation. Did anyone else make deposits to EBAs or notice any intentional deposits?
I deposited some compliments into Denise's EBA.
All right, very good, thank you. Yeah, Denise already used that example, so you got to try a different one.
Sorry, well, hey, he was receiving.
Denise related, any deposits? It could be personal too.
I can share. Mine is a quality time, but I had a buddy that just came back from like Abu Dhabi or his home. So he just came back and he get me some cologne and a shirt and all that. So it was an actual gift. So even though it's not my number one, I forget how nice gifts are. So it was great to get. So we
might have to revise
it.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's so great. And how did the time spent do for you?
Yeah, so we hung out yesterday, and then it was good to catch up, see pictures of his trip and his parents, and then like where he was at, like he went to the Dubai Expo and all that. So it was quality time, but the gift also helped as well. So it was a good time all around.
Yeah. I love that. You know, they always say, don't work hard, work smart. So that's actually what the love languages is all about is, yeah, anything you do within those 5 love languages, people will like it. But if you really want to appreciate somebody in a smart way, using their love language is going to really give you the most bang for your buck. So awesome. Thank you. And, you know, how about now any withdrawals? Did you notice any withdrawals in your own EBA or any withdrawals in other people's EBA? Was that something that you were being mindful about or noticed this week? So I can share an example. So for me, my primary love languages are quality time and acts of service, and they are very much tied. And I have found that I give love a lot by doing things for somebody or spending time with them. But that also takes a lot of energy away from me. And so I felt a withdrawal for me was I attended this big family gathering for my husband's family. And I'm going to be sprinkling some examples today about some family rumblings, which some of you might be able to relate to. And I felt that I was giving love in a way that was important to me to attend this session. That's where I saw my cousin-in-law who works at McDonald's, yada, yada, yada. And then I realized afterwards, checking in with myself, how tired I became because it was just such a big gathering. I mean, we were more or less socially distant, but I think just like Raul, it's like you're just not used to some of these things happening again. And I really felt it was a withdrawal in terms of my energy because this is the way I tend to give love. But it was worth it because I got to see my husband's family. It made him really, really happy that I went because sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like going. Do I have to go? But for him, this is a really important, really big deal. So I went to deposit into his EBA, even though I felt like it withdrew a little bit from mine. Does anyone else have any examples about withdrawals or?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know which one this would fall into in terms of words of affirmation,
Yeah.
but my mom gets very anxious sometimes. And usually when she's pretty anxious, I used to try not to talk to her because it also makes me anxious.
Yeah.
But I realized that it just creates more issues. So lately I've just been staying on the phone with her and listening to her go on and on about things that make her anxious and just being present. And I find that that's helped our relationship quite a lot, even though for me it's extremely draining. So yeah.
Definitely. I love that.
I do that too.
Oh, sorry, Sarah?
I do that with my mom too, because she's always, it was funny when you said that, because at first I used to always try to solve her problems. But I realized I can't, it's like it keeps coming back as the same issue that keeps coming back. So now last night when she's talking to me and I feel bad, but I'm not really listening. I'm just letting it, I'm just hearing her, but I'm not really listening to her, because otherwise I felt so drained because I constantly felt like I have to solve her problems.
Yeah. That would be very draining, right? You're just constantly trying to find new solutions, but they're keep doing the same things. I don't know if you saw this video about the woman with the nail in her head. It's a video to make a joke about husband and wife communication, and they're not listening. Session 5, we're actually going to be talking about empathic listening, because that's a huge part of communication. It's how you listen and how you need to change the listening of the person that you are with in order for you to truly hear what they're saying. And mothers are like almost like the best people for us to practice this with, because they just always have so much to say, and we can create all these stories about them that are not helpful and trigger us, right? So I'm not going to talk too much about the armor and armor against rumbling, because we're going to be doing that a lot later today as well. I'm just going to let somebody in. And then, so the next thing I want to get from all of you is your Myers-Briggs indicators. So if you can type that in, it's a 4-letter. So mine is ENFJ. So if you can type yours in the chat room. What I'm trying to do here is create an inventory for everyone, not just the leaders in the company, but for everyone, so that you can have a better understanding of who each other like really are and where they're coming from. And I remember my very first coach told me that as a leader of a company, if I don't know about myself deeply, I can never truly lead others. And that is kind of part of the Daring to Lead book as well, is that being a daring leader, it's also about daringly leading yourself and understanding who you are and rumbling with all your own stuff inside. So thank you for sharing your indicators. It's perfect. So make sure, please, that your name is changed so that when I send out the summary email with everyone's Myers-Briggs indicators, I know who it is. So it's not all Yolanda. So the one thing I really want to mention about Myers-Briggs and how it has changed my hiring practices completely. This is one of the, this is part of the onboarding process at the beginning of anyone joining my companies. Because what I realized is a while back, I was only hiring people who are like me. So I'm ENFJ. I'm quite extreme on the extroverted scale. And I only really understood how extroverts work. And I'm a feeler, like hugely a feeler. So, which is very unusual for an engineer, but I'm an extroverted feeler. Those are very extreme for me. And the reason I gave you the link that you did this quiz on is because it's quite accurate. So for me to get my Myers-Briggs indicator, GE paid for me to spend an entire day with MB Myers-Briggs consultants to kind of like figure out who I am. And this indicator gave me the exact same results in like 10 minutes. So I thought it was like fairly accurate. And a company does not work well if it only has the same personality type. You need a balance of different skills, different personalities. And so when I realized that I wasn't appreciating the qualities of introverted people who might do things more, I used to think that they do things slower, but it's actually because they go deeper and they really understand everything about what it is that they're working on and think ahead and so on, that I realized I wasn't capitalizing on all the possible benefits of different personality types. And I also wasn't appreciating my own husband, who is an extreme introvert. And I didn't understand why he wasn't communicating the way I was communicating. Why isn't he sharing his thoughts? I don't know if anyone here has the experience where you ask your partner or your friend, like, hey, how are you doing? What are you thinking about? They're like, nothing, I don't have anything to share. Has anyone had that experience when you ask somebody like, what's on your mind? Oh, nothing. I don't know. It's blank. So I get that like all the time from my husband. And I'm like, and I don't get it. I'm like, how could your mind be blank? How could there be nothing to share? And what I realized is that he needs more processing time. He can't just answer me like that, which is what I'm used to. And I process things with other people. That's what helps me. But introverts need to process things in a way that not only gives them energy, but in a way that works for them, but is not an indicator that they're less effective. So now in my leadership team, in both companies, I have 2 introverts on either team working with me. And because I'm appreciating this concept of introversion, extroversion so much more just through my marriage, I'm actually able to appreciate my teammates so much more and understand where they're coming from and not create like stories about what they're doing, or that they don't care, or they don't care about me, or they don't care about the company, or they're so slow, or like, why can't they just do that faster? Like I do it fast. All of these things came to me from being more understanding of where they're coming from. And that's why I think this is one of those classic personality indicators that continues to be very powerful. So I'll send that to you as a summary. So speaking of stories, I was saying creating stories. I want to share a little bit about this concept of shitty first draft. Has anyone here created a shitty first draft about anything before? Is it only, I don't see everyone on the screen. If you're not raising your hand, I just think that you're lying. Because anyone created shitty first drafts or SFDs? Like everybody. I just created one this morning. Like I guess I feel like I'm the SFD queen. They're just like all over the place. I just grab them.
It's brainstorming.
I'm sorry, Brian?
It's brainstorming.
Yeah, it's brainstorming, definitely. Except it's like a bit of a shitstorm sometimes, right? Which is not great. Excuse my French. Do you guys mind if I swear? So I really liked her quote here, which is, in the absence of data, we will always make up stories. And I want to show you the power of stories here and what it means. So you see two circles, right? What happened and our own stories and interpretations. What I put there objectively is I'm just saying, if a third person bystander were to describe to you what happened, then that should be the way it's described. But when we describe what happened, we put a lot of emotions into it. We put a lot of stories in, and it becomes something that is very different. So I'm going to give you an example of my SFD, a really big SFD that actually impacted my life for 6 months because I just refused to be vulnerable. I refused to rumble with it, and it was not a good thing. So my best friend is a guy, and we've been best friends for 21 years. And he had kids before me. So he had a lot of clothes and toys from his kids. And one day he calls me up and he's like, oh, I finally got rid of all the clothes for my daughter. I just sent them to my sister's place. So that's what happened. So now if one of you would hear that from your friend, would that upset you? Would that be upsetting to you that your best friend dropped off his hand-me-down clothes to his sisters? No, right? When I hung up the phone, I was in tears. Why was I in tears? That's crazy, right? Well, I was in tears because I created stories. So this is what was actually happening. So as he was telling me this, I started creating my stories about how he doesn't care about me. He cares about his sister more because I have abandonment issues from childhood. Ooh, you guys are all red now. Because I was raised by my grandparents and I was reunited with my parents when I was almost 4. So there was like a lot of attachment injury, and I never felt secure that somebody actually loves me. And that stayed with me my entire life. Even now, I know it's there, but it still bugs me because I look through the world. I look at the world through these lenses that someone will abandon me and someone will not love me the way I need to be loved because of what happened. So then I'm already feeling sad. And then what happens, whoopsie, what happens after that is you might have other lenses that you're looking through or other stories. So I have another story that because I'm an only child, I am destined to be lonely. And of course, my best friend will care about his sister more than me. even though his sister doesn't have any kids. I have a daughter. So why doesn't he give me the clothes? So that's another story. So now that circle of what happened is looking anything but white to me, right? So other things will also come up. My primary love language is acts of service. I see this act of giving me hand-me-down clothes an act of love, but he didn't do it. So that's another huge, huge downside to what happened. And so now I'm like, I don't even know what color this is now. Like there's like lots of colors, but that's what I'm looking at. And so the straw that broke the camel's back, or like the third lens that I'm looking through, is that this event made me feel like my daughter is not going to have his support either. He is her godfather. So now that really did it for me. So now I'm like listening to him, watching him with like all of these stories that I have piled up. And that's why I burst into tears afterwards. Sorry, that was making me dizzy. It was a lot. Do you see just like, even just physically, how dizzying it is to look through the world through so many different stories? And the sad thing is, you may not even notice you're doing that. Do you know why I notice? It's because I've done all this work around love languages, about EBAs, about 7 habits, like trauma, like all of these things. That's why I now know my glasses and stories, and I can take them off one at a time and realize, wait a minute, of course he'll be there for my daughter. Why would he not be, just because of hand-me-down clothes? And then I think, so it took me 6 months, by the way, to take these glasses off. That entire 6 months, the way I communicated with him was completely guarded and very, very much armored, because I was like, you don't care about me. You don't love me as a best friend. I'm not going to share anything with you. And a few times he asked me, he's like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I'll be like, oh, nothing. I'm good. Everything's good. But inside, you can imagine how I was feeling. I was fuming and I was really hurt, but I refused to rumble with that feeling. So finally, 6 months later, my husband was like, you have to talk to him. This is not okay. We're going on a trip together. So he's like, I am not letting you ruin my trip. And so I did. I talked to him, and it was the funniest thing. So I was like, hey, Chris, does anybody want to be Chris here? Does anybody want to be Chris and role play with me?
I'll be Chris.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, Jim, you'll be Chris. Oh, actually, you know what would be more fun, Jim? You be me. You rumble with Chris, okay? See what you would say to Chris. Like, I'll be Chris, because his response was funny. So go ahead, Jim. You're Yolanda. You're like this right now, okay? Look, you're like this. And you're looking at Chris. You're like, all right, Chris, my husband set up to talk to you, or I'm going to ruin the trip, or something like.
So have I acknowledged that I've been wearing glasses when I'm talking to Chris, or am I still wearing them?
So I'm going to give you a bit of help. So
Okay.
just to be fair, okay? Because, oh yeah, so sometimes the stories cover what happened completely and you just lose track of what happened. So before, Jim, you try this with me, these are the ways you can check your SFDs. This is on page 263. I just put it here for your convenience. But basically, you want to really get the data, right? That's what Brene Brown is telling you. It's like, you don't know the data. So that's why you're upset, stupid. Like, basically, that's what you need to do. You got to get the data. You got to find out, what do I need to understand about the situation? Like, what more do I need to learn about your story? Like, what is happening for Chris? And what more do I need to learn about myself? Like, what are these glasses? Like, where are they coming from? Why am I so upset? Why am I crying? A room full of people right now is telling me nobody cried about this event. Why am I the only one that cried? Like, what is happening? And then just to give Jim a little bit more, how do you start the conversation, right? This is how you can start. You can say, hey, the story I made up is, or I'm curious about, or can you tell me a little bit more, help me understand? Or you can even go a bit further. Oh, I really like this quote from Eckhart Tolle as well. He's basically saying, if you're upset, it's your fault, which I kind of agree, right? Like, just like you noticed, no one was upset. I'm the only one that was upset about what Chris did. Like, why does it matter?
You
So
know what?
Jim, this is what you can use, and this is what everyone can use when we do our scenario practice, is you can begin by saying, when this happened, I made it mean that I like to check this with you, right? So you can say, when you told me you are giving all your hand-me-down clothes to your sister, I made it mean that. You can choose one of my SFDs. I had like 4 of them, right? Choose one of them. And then you can say, I'd like to check with you, ... Or if you don't want to use the term SFD, you can say, when this happened, I created an SFD, or I created a story that this is what is happening. Can I please check with you? And you have to obviously put this into your own words that's more natural and more comfortable for you. So yeah, so Jim, do you want to try with me? So I'm
Sure.
Chris and you're Yolanda. Okay, you're like wearing all these glasses and like really upset.
So Chris, listen, when we just want to follow up on our talk from a few months ago there, and listen, when you told me you gave away those clothes, the story I told myself, or what I started reading, is that, you weren't really there for us or my child, and you're their godfather, and I really thought that you were, you weren't there for us. Just want to check with you. I was way off on that. Is that right?
Oh, you were upset?
I cried for about 3 months straight, every day.
Oh, wow. You wanted old clothes?
Well, maybe it wasn't really about the clothes. I think I was just maybe digging myself into a bigger hole than I needed to.
Yeah, I mean, if you want the old clothes, they're yours. I just needed to find a place to store them because it was just getting too much in my condo. But if you want them, I'm happy to deliver them.
You know what? I really don't want your crappy old clothes, Chris.
That's what I thought, because you have a lot of great clothes. Like I hosted your baby shower. You got so much crap. Why do you need more crap? I didn't even think of that. And like, I love you. You're my best friend. I'd always be there for you. And I'm your daughter's godfather. Are you okay? Like, what's going on?
Now I feel really like an idiot. I'm sorry, Chris. I've ruined everything. No?
I did not say that. That was really good. Can we give Jim jazz hands? That was really good.
I always say to my kids too, and I say to other people, is like, everything is a story. What we feel today about what you and I just did is a story we're telling. We did what we did. People are going to interpret it. That's a story. So I'm like, until you have all the facts, why not just make up the best possible story? Until then, like Brian, I tell this to Brian all the time. We hit a golf ball, don't know if it's in or out yet. Don't know if it's out of bounds or in play. I always say to him, let's pretend it's lying perfectly until we get there and find out that it's not. Because why start to be pissed off 2 minutes before I have to be? So make up a good story until you've got all the facts, because it's all made up anyway. Maybe I'm being too naive there, but everything's made up. So make up a good story.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Everything is a story. We hardly ever really know what happened because people always put their interpretations to it and they add their stories to it. And so if you can adjust the way you look at the world, so instead of looking at the world through all of these glasses that make you dizzy and unable to see what is there, if you can shed all of these just think of how free you would feel, right? Or at least pick a color that you like. Like my favorite color is purple. So if you really want to create a
12:40, Elena, you
story,
gotta stop talking. 12:40. 12:40.
what's it?
I was trying to be.
12:40, it's your cutoff time. Brian's trying to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, okay. But I was just about to say something so profound, and then
Say it.
come on, Brian, give me a minute.
Say it. Say it. I was trying to give you some leeway by not interjecting and just giving you the little chat notes.
Oh, I appreciate, I don't even see the chat notes, but I
Oh.
appreciate the, how you're approaching this. But I was just saying, based on what Jim was talking about, like if you're going to create a story, why not create a really nice story and actually look through your lenses in the world and make it the color that you want. Like I said, I love purple. So why don't you wear purple glasses if that's your favorite color, or that's your favorite story about people or about things? All right, I'm done. Okay, I only just got 1 more minute. So here is our practice time. What I want to do is I want you to work in pairs, and I have created the breakout rooms already. You just have to choose them based on your name. And what I would like you to do is you have a choice. You can either work on the SFD that I'm going to tell you, or you can create your own. So meaning like if there's one that you are living with, or one that you would really like to rumble with, use that one, okay? But if you don't have one, use mine. So my scenario is this, and this is actually true. One of my staff is terrible with replying to messages. Everyone is annoyed because it slows everything down because she's not replying and we don't hear back. And it's just really frustrating, just like really slows things down. I've tried talking to her a few times about this, but it's just not really working. And so I obviously would create an SFD, but my SFD might be different from yours. So in pairs, I want you to think about what is the SFD you would create based on the situation of what happened, like what happened. And then what is your story about what happened? And I want you to notice like the armor that you might be wearing that's preventing you from rumbling with this. Just like I shared with Chris, it took me 6 months. I couldn't bring it up. And I see him like every week and I just couldn't bring it up. And it was just like eating away at me. So what is the armor that you are wearing? There are 2 main ones. Brené Brown talks about many, but there are 2 main armors that human beings wear. One is I'm not good enough, and the other one is I'm not loved. And I was wearing both of those armors. I was thinking I'm not good enough as a friend for him to care about me. He doesn't love me, and he's my best friend, WTF. So I want you to notice that, like, what is the armor that you are wearing in the moment when you need to rumble with this? And I want you to use as many of the tools that you have learned over the past 2 sessions and today as possible. So the concept of being okay with vulnerability, emotional bank account, love languages, permission slips, and so on. And then what you learned today about stories and SFDs. These are all tools. Some are inner tools for you to have understanding. Some are communication tools that you need to speak about. And you saw the demonstration between me and Jim. So you can begin, I have this little script for you. You can begin in these 2 ways, or you can begin in any of these ways. They're called rumble starters. There are more on page 171. So you can also look there if you want like more ideas, but I like things being easy better. I like these 4, they were my favorite. And then you can do it in this way. So I'm gonna send this into everyone's chat so that you can see it even when you're in the chat room. Hopefully, if it doesn't work, let me know. But you're going to have exactly 8 minutes with your partner. So one person is going to be the like if it's me and Chris, one person, like Chris is not the example, but one person will be the person speaking about the SFD and the other person is the listener. And then you're going to switch and try the scenario again, or try the different scenario. So the steps are, you're either going to use my scenario of one of my team members never responding to things in a timely manner, or you create your own scenario and then you're going to switch to try the conversation, just like what me and Jim did. Any questions before you go? Crystal clear?
I started as your link that you sent this morning. Will I still be able to figure out who my partner is, or do you have to do that? Do I have to do that manually?
Oh, like, no, I'm gonna open up the break rooms right now, and then you join, kind of like what we did for our first session. So I'm gonna open up all the breakout rooms,
Okay.
and you can join the rooms with your names on it. So you just click join in
Got
the room with your name.
Sorry, my partner's not here. Harsh is not here.
Oh, good point. Okay, let me just rejig a few things here.
How do you know that this is your partner? Sorry.
It comes up, it says
don't
Sarah and
see
Harsh
anything.
join. I would
Oh,
have been in the room by myself,
Where?
role playing.
I don't want you to be by yourself, Sarah. Let me change that.
I didn't have anything come up on mine.
me too.
I know, I don't either.
You don't see the breakout rooms?
There's where the
No.
boxes are, where the cubes are.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
Where it
So
says
let me do this.
Elena, you're with Elish. Sorry.
Ailish.
Sorry.
Ailish.
Sorry. I butchered your name. I'm so sorry.
So let me see.
It's okay, sorry. It only took me 7 years to figure out how to pronounce your name properly. So
What is the proper
You're the only one that's
pronunciation? Just while I'm here.
I
What,
don't
my
have-
name?
Eilish.
Ailish.
Eilish.
No,
Okay.
you said
Can everyone see? Are you seeing the rooms? Are you seeing
Just
your
try-
rooms
just-
now?
Yes.
we'll stop.
Okay.
with it.
No.
Oh, there we go.
And I'm gonna be asking for presentations when you come back, please.
Sorry, I'm still with Harsh.
Don't worry, I'm gonna put you somewhere else. Because I'm gonna see,
I don't see anything.
I don't see any rooms.
Me neither.
are you guys seeing
Okay.
it now?
Oh, I got one. You sent an invite to join. Okay, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
I don't see any.
okay, let me just try. Who else is not seeing it?
Me too. Got it now.
Okay, great. And
Okay.
okay, so Jacqueline, I'm gonna move you to Sarah. Sarah, did you see your room yet? Sarah? Are you still here? Hi, Jacqueline. I was asking Sarah to join you, but I think she froze. Her video froze.
Okay.
So
No worries.
so I'm gonna play with you instead
Okay.
until she comes.
Okay.
So do you
I
want
don't see your prompts where you were saying you were going to send it to us about the role
Oh
play.
yeah, you know what? It's because I had to unshare. Okay, hold on. Let me just leave for a minute and then I'll be back.
Okay.
Hi, Sarah. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I just got kicked out.
Oh, okay. I'm going to send you to Jacqueline's room, okay? She's
Okay.
by herself. Do you mind changing your name?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Are you able to join? Sarah, are you still there? Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if the length of time has anything correlation, because you said you came out of this stronger, you had a great relationship. Like if you had it the rumble right away.
You know,
Is
I
that
always
better
think
or
that
worse?
when you sit on it and you leave it in your crazy story, the only one who's suffering is you,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The only person who's suffering is yourself, and like you're doing yourself more harm than anything. So it's about saying, okay, I am not going to let this harm me, and not armor up more, but to open that up, because ultimately it's always the better solution. I think it always is, and it's sort of taking that away. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Denise. That was really profound, by the way. Just curious, are you guys okay if we have 3 more minutes?
Sure.
Would anyone be upset if we end the breakout room in 3 minutes?
That's perfect.
No.
You're switching, right? Don't forget to
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah, we're actually walking through a couple of situations where maybe you didn't follow your agenda here, but we've had some pretty good SFD talk and armor releasing conversations.
Amazing. I'm not a super strict teacher, so don't worry about it.
All
Just
right.
if you guys want to present later, I'd be really happy.
Perfect.
Bye.
I used to make assumptions.
How are you
Bye.
guys doing?
We're
Good, how are
good.
you?
You're okay? Do you have enough time to switch?
Yeah.
You did? Oh, awesome. Okay. I'm just making my rounds. I'll see you later in the room. We have, I think,
Okay.
2 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Good. Oh,
Hi, ladies.
Hi, how are
How
ya?
are you
Hi.
two doing?
good. How are you?
Good. I'm just making my rounds to see if there are any questions or if you have enough time.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
You're good? Is there
Yeah.
anything you shared that you might want to share with the bigger group?
Not really, but we actually had a really nice conversation about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Awesome. We have about 2 more minutes left, so I'll just let you wrap up and then I'm going to keep circling around.
Wonderful.
Sure. Perfect.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh,
Hi, gentlemen. I'm just
hey.
dropping in
Hey.
on the rooms to see how you're all doing. If you have any questions or if you have enough
No,
time.
yeah, I'm good. We did ours already.
Oh, amazing. Do you want to share
Yeah.
with the group?
Sure, we can.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'm just going to continue circling and then I'll be closing the room in about 1 minute.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
Hello. How are you
Hello.
two
Hi.
doing?
Hi.
Very good.
I'm just circling around to make sure that everyone's okay. If you have any questions, do you have enough time?
I think we're good. We've gone through 2 scenarios and now we're just kind of talking about some of the nuances of it, but it's yeah, no, I think we're doing pretty good. What do you think, Corinne?
Amazing. Anything you might want to share with the bigger group?
Yeah, whatever I'm okay to share. I don't know about Corinne.
I don't know if we'll have time, but sure.
I know it's always the case, but Brian, you did a great job getting me, to join the, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah.
I'm going to stop the breakout rooms and we'll see how much time we have for sharing.
Okay.
See you in there.
Great. Thanks.
Hi, welcome back.
Hey
Can
guys.
everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Amazing. All right.
We
We're just
lost
waiting for the others to join us. Does anybody want to share a story from your pairs?
I can share a story, on behalf of our pair.
Sure. Yeah, please go ahead. They'll join and hear the story. So for everyone just joining, Marlon is sharing from their pair.
Yeah, so the scenario is confronting someone whose work has been slipping. So I confronted John and I said, John, and lately your work, your turnaround time has been slipping quite a bit. And, what it's saying to me, or what I understand from that, is that you're not, as enthused about your job anymore. Maybe you're not interested. Let me know if I'm on the right track. And his response was that no, he's very much happy with his job, but he's been going through some it's been difficult to balance training new employees and at the same time doing his regular tasks. So with that information, I was able to offer to redirect some of his other other responsibilities to some of his colleagues so that he can focus on ramping up the new staff. And then from there, we'll have more fully functional employees and we'll be that much more efficient. And that was the end of it.
Wow. That's awesome. Is this like a made up scenario or is this like for realsies?
No, it was semi made up. No, John's awesome.
Well, I was going to say, wow, what a vulnerable share. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Did John know that
out,
we're sharing about this? Well, that's amazing. Let's give Marlon and John some jazz hands. Oh, that's really, really great. And I think another thing you touched on, Marlon, with this share is how when you are vulnerable in answering, you can get the kind of support that you never thought you could get, right? Because you confronted him about an SFD that you have, and he also reciprocated with being vulnerable with you about his needs instead of saying, what's wrong with you? Like, or just like being, defensive, as opposed to saying, actually, these are the challenges I'm having. You can step up as a leader to really be there for him and hold space for John, and your relationship transforms completely. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I love it. That's so great. Okay. I know we're at 1 o'clock. I mean, I always plan at least half an hour more every session. I wish you guys could just spend all day with me so I can stop obsessing over all the things I want to do with you and just let's just do more stuff together. But I'm not going to rush through the next concept, which is about people doing their best. I know you already seen the video from Brene Brown and Russell Brand. If you haven't, please watch it. But I do want to talk about the preparation work before I go. So I'm going to ask for 2 minutes of your time. first thing I want to do is to let you know that the last 3 weeks are actually going to be an authentic communications team challenge, where each week we'll have a special scenario and teams are going to role play, kind of like what you did today, but like really role play the whole scenario using the tools, how to solve this issue that is coming up, like a challenge. So what I want you to do, not to have to do it yet, but start thinking, I want you to work with a partner. So you can pick a partner, but I urge you to pick a partner that you have not worked with, not on your team, or I can pick a partner for you. I don't mind, but I'm just going to give you the choice. And I want you to think of an authentic scenario that you might want to use. I already have 3 that I'm going to use. 2 of them are from the book, actually, but if you don't, but I think it'll be really meaningful if we can use some from your life as well. So that's just for you to think about. Item 1, you don't have to really do anything, but just start thinking about it. Item 2 is I need you to reply to an email I will be sending you, because every session I look at these answers that you give me to see if I'm on track, to see if I'm hitting those things that you really want to achieve. So we're at a midpoint now, and I want to do a midpoint check-in. So I'm going to send you 3 questions, and I want you to reply with your answers. Will take you definitely less than 5 minutes. And there's the question in there about what you might want to do for the team challenge as well. And the third thing I would love for you to do is just read these pages, because next class we're going to talk about people doing their best and about self-compassion, shame resilience, and paint done. So likely paint done is going to be session 5, but definitely we're going to talk about self-compassion and shame resilience from those pages. Any questions from everyone?
I have a question about just in general, the vulnerability. How is, like, people can be vulnerable all the time because there are people who are genuinely malicious, right? And in those situations, it's important to have a guard up, because then it becomes like, the scenario that Brian used in the first session, where it's kind of like a goalie or a team where you try to exploit those vulnerabilities. So how important is it that you have that emotional bank account filled with the person that you're being vulnerable with? Because if you don't have that rapport, you might not feel safe enough to be vulnerable, because they might actually be malicious. Like, there are those characters in the world. So, in this, we haven't really covered scenarios where you're dealing with people who are actually not well intentioned, because if you're vulnerable with everyone, you could get hurt.
Can I just say something, Yolanda, about that? I was just going to say, because I was thinking, I forget where this came up, but it came up where I felt like if somebody, like in that scenario, if somebody I felt like I was being attacked, if I said to that person, what you're saying is making me feel as though I am not doing a good job. I mean, I think if you tell them what if you told them how what they were doing made you feel? I feel like that's a game changer. Like, you're turning it around and saying, this is what you're saying is impacting me this way. I don't know, that I think that would shift things for the other person, unless they're truly malicious, and then you have to walk away. But I think that sort of sends a message.
Yeah, I also, thank you, Denise, for sharing that. I also have something to share, and I think it's a really great example to answer Marlon's question about how do you choose, and when do you, and how vulnerable do you get, right? And that's part of the question as well. So I just asked for everyone for a few more minutes, if that's okay. In Brene Brown's book called The Gift of Imperfect Parenting, she talks about the concept of marble jars. And this is actually the same as EBAs, emotional bank account, just a different name. And in the example, she said her daughter shared something really vulnerable, like a secret, with another girl in her class. And that girl spread it everywhere. And she just had the most terrible day. And she came home and she was like just in tears. And Brene Brown was like, how to console her daughter about this. So what she said, I think, was really brilliant. She's like, people earn your trust. You cannot just open yourself wide to everybody. That's not what she's teaching about vulnerability. She's actually teaching you to be more mindful about being open, but being open to the right people. Vulnerability to me is almost like a litmus test. Do they deserve your vulnerability? Are they worthy of your openness? And if they're not, then that doesn't work. So what she was saying in this book about marble jar, she said, the little things people do for you are deposits into your marble jar. And you share vulnerably with people who are what she calls your marble friend. So they're not necessarily called best friends, but your marble friend, people who have filled your marble jar, which is the same concept as EBA. And just from my own personal example, I've shared over the course of 21 years about my journey with bipolar disorder. I first was just with a few people, and then I opened it up more and more and more. And today I just had a TV interview before our session, and I talked about it there too. And I was like, why am I more comfortable about it now? It's because I find that my vulnerability built my village. People who are not meant to be in my village are going to self-select out. And people who don't deserve my vulnerability, they're not even going to be around me. So I'm using vulnerability as a litmus test. And I think that is something you need to see vulnerability as. It's not something that you give away freely, that people can trample on and do whatever they want with. Vulnerability is your connection tool. It's the most powerful connection tool that we have. Does that answer your question, Marlon?
Yeah. But just, I don't want to belabor the point.
But you can stay with me. I'm happy to stay on. If people have to leave, totally don't feel like you have to stay. I'm happy to stay with Marlon here.
Yeah, no, just a follow-up point. Do you think that your ability to share freely as well comes from the fact that, you're a point in your career where you feel safe and secure, that, for someone who is just coming up, for example, versus someone who has achieved a lot and people already respect, maybe that gives you more comfort to be vulnerable to more people? Because if you don't like me, I told you don't like me, screw you. I know who I am already. But maybe someone who's just starting out in their career, or they don't have that clout yet, they might, or you don't have that relation. Like if I met a client for the first time, and they don't have a track record of all, I've done, for example, for other clients. If I mess up with a client or I had to make a withdrawal from their bank, they know what I've done for the last 10 years. But if it's a new client and that's their first experience with me, that's different, or they don't know about me. But, it's just the same point. Like maybe you have to get to it's easier when you've gotten to a point of more security versus someone who's just coming up. Or if you're just starting a new job, for example, and to be vulnerable, or for a new employee to say, I can't show up today, versus someone who's been with a company for an extended period of time and then they get sick. You can say, well, I know that person. They've been awesome for, the last 5 years. I know they're having a bad day, versus someone who started last week. So.
Yeah, again, oh my God, Marlon, we need to just have coffee and talk, because they're just basically watching us chat now. But I love that question, because, from Brene Brown's perspective, you don't wait for permission to be vulnerable. You extend yourself, you open yourself vulnerably, and then let things kind of happen as it's meant to happen. And I think that's something, whether you buy into that concept, I do feel really strongly about, I'll share something really vulnerably. I've never shared this publicly before. Actually, it's something that I find that really triggered my shame gremlin, hugely. So when my husband decided to leave his job, because you asked me, do you need to be at a certain place in order to share? my biggest reservation from sharing about my mental health condition was that what if I want to get a job in industry? What if I want to go back to engineering? What if I want to like just work in industry again? What if this is going to make it, because people can search for things, right? They'll find out. And what if they don't hire me anymore? So that was like a huge deal for me. And to overcome that, it was the same concept as what you shared about people who are new. You know, they haven't built that EBA yet. If it's a new client, if it's a new industry, if it's new whatever, like I'm an entrepreneur going back to working for somebody else, like it's that empty EBA, right? Like you don't have street credit, you don't have any credit with anybody. So I was really worried. So when my husband decided to quit his job, I was really scared because I really like security, told you, attachment, abandonment issues. I really need security in my life, and financial security is huge. And so what I did was I started reaching out to my network and I said, I just want to get a job for a year, like maybe 2 years, just until COVID blows over and everything it settles a bit and I get like a steady income while my husband lives his entrepreneur dream. And I really wanted to support him because he'd been supporting me for 6 years. So then I looked for some jobs and I got quite a few interviews, but I didn't get any job offers. And there was one job that I was definitely overqualified for. I thought it was an easy in, like one of my good friends would have been my boss's boss's boss. So I was like, I'm definitely gonna get this one. I got this in the bag. And they really dragged on this recruitment process for like 2 or 3 months. And by the time, I found out and they said, you didn't get this job, immediately I was like, I was too vulnerable. I put myself out there. I told everybody about my journey and now look, I can't even get a job anymore. And I was so ashamed of what happened that I couldn't even share with my husband because I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm somebody who achieves a lot in my life. And I have never had a job other than one co-op job where I got the interview, but didn't get the offer. And this time it was reversed. And I was like, what's going on? Am I just like complete failure now? And I was talking to my coach and he said, rejections are the biggest gifts from the universe. You're not meant to leave entrepreneurship. This is before I launched Business Doula, launched coaching, started working with Denise. Like this is before that all happened. I don't even think I shared with Denise that I got rejected from this job. But after this rejection, I was like, I don't even know what happened. I felt like I was injected with like new energy. I was like, oh my gosh, I really am meant to do something on my own that even if I'm rejected here, I could help myself in other ways. I could trust myself to provide financial stability. So even though I'm not there, I'm not at a stable place, but what is there, right, Marlon? Like what is there? Is Jim there? Is Brian there? Like you can always look beyond and say, oh, but Jim could have 5 different Westmount. Maybe he can't be vulnerable until he has like 10 Westmount guarantees. Like it's just not safe for him to put himself out there. So that's what I'm saying, that vulnerability is like a litmus test for you. It's a litmus test for you to just like put yourself out there, with caution, of course, right? Like the whole marble jar concept, like I said, but it is something that helps build the most authentic village around you possible. Like I cannot, and I think the reason I'm so obsessed with your group is because I feel like so connected to this cause. And I would never be doing this if I took that other job. And that job would be paying me like a third of what I'm able to generate for myself. But it's because I didn't trust myself. I didn't think I could do it. So if you're early in your career, and I know some of you are, you really need to trust yourself. You really need to understand that even if you get rejected because you were vulnerable, or if you get rejected because things just, you wanted to, put yourself out there, then that is what's meant to happen. Like rejections are seriously gifts from the universe. I really believe that. Alchemist, any Alchemist fans here? The book by Paulo Coelho, it's a great book. They have it in graphic novel version now. It's really good.
Mhm. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I really love your questions, Marlon. These are like really, really good. And you give me a chance to talk to the group even more, which I love. So do your preparation work, everybody. Don't forget, I'm going to send an email follow-up about that as well. And just start thinking who you might want to work with. This is like high school all over again. Or I can choose your partner for you, but we're going to do a team challenge. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Bye.
Thanks, Yolanda.
Another great
Okay,
one.
take care.
Bye. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you for staying.
Yeah.